Good afternoon and welcome to Open Mic.
Chased you to the desert with blinders on. It was a metaphor I couldn't resist. The open heart surgery is best left to the clergy, 'cause I just don't have courage to try. I kept my phone off the hook, a pile of regrets. I kept my mouth shut and held my breath. Open heart surgery, that's left to the clergy, 'cause I just don't have the courage to try. 'Cause you've been plowing these fields for 31 fallow years, while I've been treading water. You the best that I knew how. I was inept. For the record, I only had good intentions. All the old bones are burning. Will anyone weep? The ashes are scattered over the compost heap. 'Cause you've been plowing these fields for 31 fallow years, while I've been treading water with one arm. 'Cause you didn't mean to do me harm. You've been
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Open Mic. I'm pleased to have on the phone with me Mr. Hank Kim. Hank, welcome to Open Mic.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, so we're here today to talk about your latest release. Name of the CD is entitled Love and Other Ephemera, and this is a band that you are playing in entitled Silvery Ghosts. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it is. I would say it's actually what I would call a solo project, but with the moniker of that actually leads you to think that it's a band, if you know what I mean. But it's actually, I'm a New York-based singer-songwriter, and these, with the exception of one track on the record, these are all songs that I wrote. And then when I went into the studio, I put together, all of the musicians along with the producer, and then in terms of live shows and touring, I put together the band. But it's not a band in the traditional sense of, I guess, the Beatles or the Stones or Zeppelin. So I just wanted to clarify that, I guess. I didn't want to mislead anybody.
Now, this is like your third CD that you put out. Is that correct? Third or fourth?
That's right. It is CD number 3, and I actually put the first 2 records out under my name, Hank Kim.
Right.
The first one in 2003, and then the second one in 2008. And then I took a bit of a hiatus and came back and focused on this particular project. And we released this record June 9th. So about a month ago.
Yeah, fresh off the press for sure. It sounds good.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your musical career. When did you start playing music, and kind of what got you interested in music?
I guess I started playing music. I mean, I've been playing music since I was a kid. But in terms of doing it in its sort of current incarnation, as far as being a songwriter and taking it seriously and really committing myself to it. In that context, I guess I've been doing this for about 15, 20 years, starting in the early 90s. And, I started out writing songs, and interestingly enough, I was actually I think I became a songwriter first, and then I think the musicianship and the singing actually followed, which I guess probably in most cases it's the opposite. But yeah, so I started, and I've been writing songs off and on now for 20 years, and with a lot of twists and turns along the way, and it's something that. With this new record, I've really become reinvigorated and re-energized in terms of doing it. It is a bit of a roller coaster ride, as I'm sure most songwriters will tell you.
Now, this is your third or fourth CD. Your third, I think you said. Tell us what is different. You said you took a little bit of time off from your other 2 albums. What do you think you brought differently to this project?
Life. I think most songwriters, obviously draw from experiences and things they've gone through in the course of waking up every day and living their lives. And I think with this record, I think just sort of getting older, maturity, wisdom, experience, just again living life really, I think brought me to a place where, I feel like with this record, both lyrically as well as musically, I think I've started to really kind of develop a voice.
I'm speaking with Mr. Hank Kim here on Open Mic. This is his latest collaboration of music under the name of Silvery Ghosts. The name of the CD just released is entitled Love and Other Ephemera, and the name of this track we're going to hear is Vivid in the Valley, right here on Open Mic on 89.9 FM, KGPR, Great Falls.
It's vivid
Mr. Kim, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the instrumentation on this album. I'm hearing some classical types of instruments on there. You got acoustic guitars, you have pianos, you have drums. You've also blended in more synthetic, more electronic music. Tell me how that blending of music came together for you guys.
I didn't really have, any sort of, I guess, tight game plan going in. I found this great producer, this Brooklyn-based producer, a guy by the name of Nate Martinez. And when I met with Nate originally to discuss working together, we threw around some sort of general ideas, but it wasn't until we got into the studio and sort of went into pre-production mode, that this sort of method or sensibility emerged, and one that again is this mixture of the various elements that you just described, sort of this interesting cocktail, I guess, of traditional, more classically based singer-songwriter sounds with elements of more, sort of modern, of the moment production techniques and sounds, that are more, as you say, electronic based.
Well, one of the things I noticed and I really enjoyed while listening to the album was, as I'm listening to songs, you hear these different approaches to making music. Some of the more classical acoustic instruments coming in, and then even within the same song, it'll have sort of a change of mood almost, I want to say, where some of the more modern songs come in, and it might go back and forth or whatever. And I think that is just a great way to create songs. Not only musically is it challenging for you guys, but also as listeners, that really kind of keeps you on your toes, and just listening to the changes, although these common threads flow through the song. The way that you guys incorporated this different instrumentation, I thought really made the record, some records are meant to listen to all the way from the beginning to the end. I think this is one of them, and all the songs blend well while each having their own different voices, I should say.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you pointed that out, and that you actually noticed that and appreciated it, because that's something that I am a firm believer in, is that I feel like songs, just like any form of expression, should have an arc, and should have different colors and a varying dynamic, a dynamic that changes throughout the song, whether it's tempo, whether it's rhythmically, whether it's even in terms of mood. And I feel that's, especially in this day and age where everybody is, so challenged from an attention span standpoint, that I think if you sort of lock into one thing, one dynamic, as good as it might be, I think to hold people's attention over the course of 3, 4, 5 minutes is asking a lot, unless you do things along the way, these hooks, these oral hooks that keep people interested. And so that's what we were definitely trying to accomplish, and it's really gratifying to hear that you, at least, were able to latch on to that.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the band members that you hooked up with here. Are these guys that you had worked with before, or some of these new people?
Actually, they're all new, with the exception of the drummer. And actually, he's the one that is, I guess, sort of the catalyst and responsible for bringing this crew together. The drummer on this record is a guy by the name of Tom Zovich. He's this great New York-based musician, and I've known Tom for probably almost 10 years now. Back in the day when I was, playing and putting music out under my own name, Hank Kim, I used to hire Tom and to do shows with me here in New York, and then he was in a band that was pretty successful, and he got to tour the world, and so we sort of lost track of each other for a few years. And then a couple of years ago, when the idea came back into my head that I wanted to make another record, he was one of the first people I reached out to, and he's the one that put me in touch with Nate, the producer, who played in the band that I was referring to. The band, by the way, the name of that band is Pela, and some of your listeners are probably familiar with them. They put out a record a few years ago called Anytown Graffiti that still is one of my favorite records of the last 10, 15 years. In any case, Tom and Nate were both in Pela. Tom put me in touch with Nate. Nate and I sort of instantly had this rapport, and I knew from the from the first meeting that he was the guy that was going to produce my record. And so then Nate basically put together the rest of the the team, as it were. And but everybody else, including Nate, are people that I had never played music with before. for.
I wanted to ask you guys what you have planned. So you just created this fabulous album. What are you going to do with it? Are you guys going to go on tour? You plan on playing around New York to support the album? What's your plans for the upcoming summer and the next year?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, we just the record was released on June 9th, so it's been out there for about a month. We did a album release show at a club here in New York on the Lower East Side called the Rockwood Music Hall, which is this great venue that a lot of both local bands as well as national touring acts, when they come through New York, they play there. And so we had a release show there, which is a big success. It was a lot of fun putting these records sort of on their legs and out there. And then from here, the rest of the summer is going to be devoted towards promoting the record, both in terms, I have a team that's helping me promote the music, both with radio. That's obviously how we got connected, and then also with the blogosphere and all the other various people that have an influence on how a record is received. So there's a lot of promotion stuff going on. We're going to be doing more shows. We've been talking about some small regional tours, which have yet to be worked out because we're still in the process of figuring out where we want to go. It's obviously you go to where the people want to hear you, and so we're sort of sorting through all the different markets and figuring out where we're getting the most traction. But I'm pretty confident that in the next couple of months we'll be out on the road at some point.
Fabulous. Well, Hank, we got time for one more tune here on Open Mic. Before we get to this last song, I wanted to ask if you would give our listeners some information on where they can get a hold of you, where they can maybe sample your music. Do you have a website out there?
Yeah. I would say the two venues where you could reach me the easiest and where it'll actually be a good experience for the listener would be on my website, which is www.silveryghosts.com, or they can go to www.reverbnation.com/silveryghosts. Those two sites are probably the best place to go for all things Silvery Ghosts. You can hear the music. There are a couple of music videos that I've posted for a couple of the tracks in the record. Bio information, everything that you could possibly be interested in as far as Silvery Ghosts are on those two sites.
Fabulous. Well, before we get to this last song, Mr. Kim, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today on Open Mic and sharing your new music with us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and hearing your new stuff out there, so thanks.
I really appreciate taking the time to have me, and thanks a lot for all the support.
So we're going to go out with one last tune, and this is, I think, the song you said that was the only song on the album that was not original. The name of this track is Conversation 16. You want to give us just a few words on this tune?
Well, for those of your listeners out there who are fans of the band The National, this is Conversation 16 is our interpretation of that song, which was on the record that they put out in 2010, I believe, called High Violet. It's one of the singles off of that record, and it's a song track that really spoke to me when they put out the record. And when it came time to make my record, and I was thinking of material, I always try to do one cover if I can, and this happened to be the song that spoke to me the most. And of course, the challenge is you don't want it to be, you want it to make it your own, because it already has a sort of relationship with listeners, through the original recording, and so you want to kind of separate yourself from that as much as you can to sort of make it your own, and hopefully we did that. So, we'll see. All right. The jury is still out, I guess.
Well, personally, really enjoyed the record. And Mr. Kim, once again, thanks for taking your time to be with us. I'm speaking with Hank Kim. His latest project, Silvery Ghosts. The CD we've been listening to is Love and Other Ephemera. You can check out more of his music at Silvery Ghosts website and also on Reverb Nation. So go check it out. My name is TC Hirsch, saying thank you so much for joining me on Open Mic on 89.9 FM, KGPR. And Mr. Kim, have a fabulous day.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Kids are in trouble. I do not know what all the troubles are for. Give them ice for the fevers. You're the only thing I ever want anymore. Live on coffee and flowers. Try not to wonder what the weather will be. I figured out what we're missing. Tell you miserable things after you are asleep. Now we'll leave the Silver City, 'cause all the silver girls gave us black dreams. Leave the Silver City, 'cause all the silver girls, everything means everything.
It's a Hollywood summer. You never believe the shitty thoughts I think. We had friends out for dinner. When I said what I said, it didn't mean anything. We belong in a movie. Try to hold it together till our friends are gone. We should swim in a fountain. I do not want to disappoint anyone. Now we'll leave the Silver City, 'cause all the silver girls gave us black dreams. Leave the Silver City to all the silver girls. Everything means everything. I was afraid I need your rain. I was afraid I need your rain.
'Cause I'm evil. 'Cause I'm evil. I'm a confident liar. Have my head in the oven so you know where I'll be. I try to be more romantic. I wanna believe in everything you believe. I was less than a man.